Hi everybody. Hi Abhishek. Hi Ellie. Hi Prashant. Hello Kushal. Hello Marielle. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, thank you. We have a very special chat planned for us, planned for you guys today. Hi. My sister's like, thank you. No, your best sister. We're just waiting for Khyati to join us. She should be here any minute. And we have a chat planned today on financial fitness. I'm very well, Ayan. How are you? Hi, Jatin. Thank you for the compliment. Here we go. Just gonna wait for Khyati to come online. There she is. Just adding her to the call. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Hi, Khyati.
Hi,
How
Sarah.
are you?
How are you? I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well, thank you. This is perfect timing. Just as you came online, someone said financial fitness. What's that?
Oh, okay.
So we're here to tell you what financial fitness is and answer your questions of what is financial fitness. I just before I go any further, I just wanted to introduce you guys to Khyati, Mashru, Vasani now.
Yeah.
And
Now what's
and now Vasani. And so Khyati is, I'm going to refer to her as a finance expert. She's been handling my finances for many years now. She's also a CFO to many families. And I think I can safely say that she thrives on taking people through their money story. Her company is called Plant Rich, and the name gives away itself, its intent. And what I wanted to talk to her about today was financial fitness. It was actually Khyati's idea for us to do this chat because I have been speaking so much about financial fitness and about physical fitness and about mental fitness. And Khyati said, we should talk about financial fitness as well, especially given the unpredictable times that we're in right now. And when people are talking about stress and anxiety and things that they worry about, finance is actually one of the number one things that they talk about. So,
okay?
Khyati, before I start asking you the questions that I actually have, will you just tell our audiences in brief what it is that you do and what you're passionate about when it comes
Sure,
to
sure,
finance?
sure. So, hello everyone. It's an absolute pleasure being here with all of you. And this is actually a very sensitive topic that we're going to talk about today because that, as Sarah said, there is a lot of anxiety all around and people don't really know what next. COVID-19 is like a black swan event, something that we never really thought of. And it's like we've just landed into it. So it's tough, but yeah, today we'll talk about handling that. What I do, well, I rewrite people's money story, and I believe that everyone has a unique money story, and each and every money story can be rewritten. And I believe that very small little changes that you make in your finances can go a long way in helping you live a more holistic and a more fulfilling life. Because I believe that wealth is an ability to fully experience life. And the definition of success is different for everybody. So, it's like putting that definition of success into place for you and then planning your finances is what we work on.
I
And
also I also think that you were talking about wealth and finances. I also think that planning better allows you to construct a life of abundance from all
of
angles.
course,
Yeah,
and more
yeah,
importantly, you can live a life of your choice.
yeah,
It's like you may choose to work after a certain age completely out of choice, but when your
yeah,
finances are well planned, it's not going to be out of compulsion. uh,
yeah.
Only thing required
So
is, yeah, one is required to be more disciplined about it. And I must compliment you, Sarah, for that. You have really been a very
thank you.
disciplined client for all this while.
You've been a tough taskmaster when you've had to be. Khyati will call me. Khyati will call me and be like, "You don't need that much money sitting in the bank account. Give it to me. I'm investing it for you." And so I'm gonna take this opportunity to lead into my first question. So, what does it mean, according to you, to be financially planned at a time like this?
Okay. So according to me, being financially planned is when you're not really worrying about tomorrow. You know that, there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know how things are going to pan out 3 months, 6 months down the line. And you don't really know. There are a lot of people who are losing their jobs. There are a lot of pay cuts that are happening all around us. And when you're not really worried about the basics of your life in a situation like this, means that your finances are well planned.
So that leads me actually to my next question. I was going to do this a bit later, but I think I will ask you that question right now. So I put up this question online to ask people if they had any questions for us.
Right.
And someone said to me, and I think this is a very important question to answer. They said, if a person has lost their job and is surviving on their savings, how do they save?
Right. So, see, first and foremost, especially in times like this, the first priority is going to be survival till you get on to something else, or you get on to some other assignment. So, at times like this, you should not really think about saving. You're not really going to miss the bus. Because when you have money in your bank account and when you know you're going to live peacefully for next 4 or 5 months out of your savings, that's when you'll have a lot of peace of mind. You'll be more productive and you'll be able to go out and look for what you want to do in life. So I feel at times like this, don't rush to save or invest money. You should be completely out of that fear of missing out kind of a feeling, and just focus on having enough liquidity. If you've lost your job, reduce your expenses, just spend on the essentials, plan your budget in a way that you are just having enough for next 6 8 months of your life. And in the meantime, I'm sure things are going to work out and things are going to be normal back very soon. I was just attending a call with someone just before this, and we feel that India is going to have a very good recovery in next 6 to 8 months. So if that happens, things will fall in place. So I think right now the priority should only be about survival and your peace of mind. Then the next step is about saving and investing.
So would you, and then you've actually now touched upon the next question also that somebody asked, which is, what's the easiest way to plan day-to-day expenses?
So day-to-day expenses, I think you make a list of all your expenses that you foresee in a month, or that like you have been spending all this while, and make a budget. And then what you need to do is just keep a track of it and stick to your budget. So I think next 4 5 months, it's very essential that we only spend on things that we really need and don't spend on things that we really want. And once situation is back to normal, once there's more stability in job, in career, in businesses, you can go out and look to splurge that money. So best thing
So
is make a budget.
yeah, so would you say that something like, for example, my sister does this, and I really applaud her for doing this. She has an Excel sheet where she enters in every single expense that she has, and then she's got an expense calculator. So you suggested doing this for me as well. So for anyone out there who's wondering how to start, in your first month, what you do is you just put down all your expenses so that you have your total at the end of the month. And then you use that as an average on an Excel sheet where you put down all the expenses again, so you know what to compare it to month after month. And then any money that you have, let's say, not spent, gets carried forward to the next month. So then you've got that as a kind of excess for you to spend. Not that, like Khyati said, at this time you should be going out and spending it. You should look at keeping that money.
And more importantly, Sarah, you'll also be able to analyze as to where are you spending, where it's not really required. Because till now, it's like, you're spending and you're not having a note of it. But when you write it down and when you analyze it next month, you'll be able to understand this is something what I don't need. And probably for next month, I don't need to spend on this. So that would help.
Someone just said Excel is a very difficult thing for me to use. I completely understand. If not, I'm a pen and paper kind of person. I have an old school, like a notebook, and I make my accounts just like we did when we were studying commerce in college. Literally, I have an Excel, like that's my Excel sheet. I do it handwritten. So don't worry if you can't figure it out on your computer. Even if if you're finding it really difficult, I'm sure you can find a really easy YouTube tutorial, because there are YouTube tutorials for everything.
So, Sarah, I'll add to this. I'll just add an answer to this question. There are a lot of
Yes.
expense manager app on, for iPhone as well as for Android. So I think what you can do is just look for Microsoft has one. There are quite a lot of different apps. So you can
Amazing.
just
That's
pick
very
up,
useful.
yeah, any app that
That's
you like
extremely
the most.
useful.
And probably you can even actually analyze it by default. It puts all the expenses in different categories. Even if you're going out and dutching with somebody, you'll be able to put that exact amount. So
amazing.
There are a lot of apps.
Amazing, amazing. Do you have any names by any chance? Maybe we can put the names in on this video later.
There are quite a few. Yeah, we can do that later also. But there is one called
Oh,
Expense
hi,
Manager.
Crispino. Someone's called Crispino, who's a really good friend of mine, just said something called Spendy.
Yeah,
so
Spendy is also good.
Yeah, there we go. Good. Thank you for that, Crispino. So just can you elaborate a little more about being clear about your financial goals? How does one become clear about what your financial goals are?
Right. So see, first and foremost, one thing is for sure that when you talk about financial planning, this is the first step. You need to have ample clarity as to where you are now and where you really want to reach. So you have to have your financial goals in terms of numbers. I can give you an example. For example, if you're planning to buy a home, okay, you need to know when are you planning to buy a home? What is an amount of money that you're planning to spend for it in today's value? And let's say if you're wanting to go for a home 5 years down the line, what's the kind of a future value? Because you've got to add inflation or the price rise to it. So add all of it and then decide that, okay, this is the money that I'm going to require 5 years down the line to achieve this goal. And then we need to do the back working or the back calculation for that. How much do I need to put aside per month to save for this goal?
Okay.
So that's how you write down your financial goal. In fact, this is a wonderful period. We all are in lockdown and not yet a lot of things have started, especially in Mumbai. But you can look at, sitting with your family, sitting with your better half, spouse, partner, whoever is a stakeholder in your goals, sit and write down your goals. That would really help.
Yeah, always helps me with life goals in general. This question actually is a particularly interesting subject for me, and I would like you to talk about it because I know that when you initially started work, you were very passionate about working with women in specific for managing their money. Because I think that as women, we aren't necessarily, because most Indian families, the household monies are controlled by, or the decisions rather, I want to say, are made by the men in the household. So most women will earn money and either give it to their husbands or to their fathers or to their brothers. But I know that you were very keen on empowering women to be able to manage their own finances. So tell me something about that.
So yeah, that I believe it's a very, very important part. And just to add a little bit of data to Sarah, what you said is in India, 70% of the working, earning women depend on their better halves, like better halves, husband, brother, to invest their money. And there are only 30% of the women who actually understand money and plan their own money. So of course, this is something that really needs to change in India. And how we can do that is personal finance is one thing which we not really taught in any schools or colleges, but actually it's something which is very, very important. So what you need to do is start learning more and more about managing your own money. So there are two things. One is, of course, managing the money that you already have. And second is empower yourself, your skill set. You need to upgrade your skill set to get better at what you're doing, or probably add more skills to it and increase your income levels. So there are two things to it through which we empower women. So both the things we do for them, we come up with different ideas that they can implement and increase their incomes. And second is knowing how well to manage their money. Like what are the possible instruments?
I will definitely say that about PlantRich, because each and every single one of your employees have answered my questions over and over and over again. I remember when I first started investing and I couldn't understand, I really didn't know the difference, honestly. Equities, high risk, low risk, medium risk, where should I? And now when I have a conversation, I actually feel kind of cool because it's my money and it's my hard-earned money. And when I'm having a conversation about it, I know where my money is going and I know how much my money is making, and I know depending on the situation. And Khyati and I just had a conversation about my finances, and I was saying that, I'm a bit scared right now because I don't know what's going to happen. But even through the fear, because I had knowledge backing me up, it was easy for me to have that conversation and make a reasonable decision about what to do with my income going forward. So thank you. And yes, I think that Plantage is very good at explaining the financial jargon in a very, very succinct and a very easily understandable way. So when we talk about I have a couple more questions actually, which I think I'm going to get into from
Sure.
people. So one of the most common questions that came in was, what do we invest in?
What do you invest in?
Yeah, and it's a two-part question. So what do we invest in? And the second question was, should we buy property or invest in the market?
Right. So when you talk about investment, so this is going to be a little lengthy answer. One
No
thing you
problem.
need to keep in mind is your asset allocation. Okay. So I will not say that equity is bad or real estate is good or vice versa. There are four major asset classes. One is equity. The second is debt. Third is real estate. Fourth is gold. And fifth is cash and cash equivalents. You need to make sure to have your money into all the different asset classes. Because one thing we need to understand that each and every asset class has a different function, has a different, like a time, like a cycle, like at different times they perform, at different times they don't. All these asset classes have inverse relationships. When equity performs, debt is steady. Real estate has a very long cycle. If it performs for a few years and then it's just not performing and it's stagnant for a few years. So ideally, according to your age, according to your risk appetite, according to your income levels, you need to spread your money into different baskets and not just keep it in one asset class. And if you ask me, how can I know how much I should spend where? Simple formula, 100 minus age. Whatever is the balance, that money has to be in equity. The reason I'm saying this is because equity is one asset class which can help you make money. It generates return more than inflation. So when you're talking about investments, you have to get 4-5% return more than inflation. Only then you're going to make your money work for you. Only then your money is going to grow. Else it's just going to, keep pace with inflation. So 100 minus age, that much you put in equity, and rest of the money you can distribute between debt, real estate, and gold. Okay. And more importantly, whenever you're planning your finances, make sure to have enough emergency fund, at least 5 to 6 months of your expenses. You should always have it in a liquid instrument. So something that you can just liquidate whenever there is an emergency. So that's how you should be planning your entire set of money that you have.
So while you were talking, we had two questions which actually tie into something that I wanted to discuss, as well as one, someone said very interestingly, how do you come up with a investment mindset and investing mindset? I think what they're trying to talk about is how is it that you start to develop the mindset of actually investing in the market and saving. And someone else said, what is the best thing to invest in? And I wanted to just sort of add over here that there is never a good or a bad time to start saving. You should have, now you can start saving right now if you need to. Of course, right now everyone is in survival mode, and especially if you've lost your job and you're living on savings, then needless to say, we go back to the beginning of the conversation where you're making sure you have enough to cover your day-to-day expenses. But if you are an earning, come into an earning category, then now is as a good time as ever to start saving. And what would you say, Khyati, is the easiest and the simplest way of sort of entering into a saving habit?
So first and foremost, go in for a good set of mutual funds. Okay, because if you don't understand markets, that's the best way to enter market. If you don't understand which funds to buy, because there are ample of websites which will keep telling you this is good and this is better, but each and every website has a different way of doing their own research. Okay, so if you don't understand any of it, go for a simple index fund. So index fund is something where, for example, if it's Nifty has a set of 50 stocks, it's a composition of 50 stocks into different percentage. So your index, when you just invest in index, you are by default investing into these 50 companies, these 50 large companies of the country. So just enter that, stay put into that for maybe 5, 10, 15 years till the time your goal is achieved. When it comes to debt mutual funds are a little complex to understand. So if you don't understand that piece, just don't enter, because debt is not something where you should be taking risk. You can just enter a normal FD or just go and park your money in PPF. If you don't have a financial advisor or a coach, all that you can do is buy a good index fund, start your PPF investments. These are the two things that you can do.
So index fund and a PPF investment.
Yes.
Amazing. How do you save on a low income salary?
There are only two ways to it. One is cut down on
Yeah.
your expenses. Second is think on
Yeah.
increasing your income.
Right. Yeah. I think we already addressed this in the previous
Yes.
question. And what do you think about property investments? Selling has been pretty hard. My father should have a word with you. He probably should have a word with Khyati. I have two questions. One is a question that we just got from the audience, and one is my final question for this conversation. So someone asked what your perspective was on the upcoming recession.
Okay, so we are going to be in kind of a growth recession. And I'm going to answer this question a little more in an elaborate way, Sarah. However, I feel India as an economy is going to be much insulated as compared to a global world. Because if you see the data, 70% of the spends that happen in India, they are spends on essentials. And only 30% of the spends are on discretionary items. Whereas if you talk about US market or a European market, 30% of spends are on essentials and 70% of the spends are on discretionary items. So moment we return back to normal post the lockdown, and we're not going to return to complete normal anytime soon because COVID is really going to stay with us. But if that happens, even if that happens, we will go back to our economy. I see possibly kind of a U-shaped recovery. So we're going to have a slow, but yeah, from there we will have a recovery. That's point number one. Point number two, when you talk about emerging economies, emerging countries, India is a favored destination for entire global world to come and invest back in India. So that's going to be a second benefit for India. So I think that's how, I mean, recession, as in we will be in a growth recession, but the recovery is going to be faster than what we expect because of the demographics of the country, and we'll be out of it soon. So I think this year is going to be bad and volatile, entire year 2020, but 2021 onwards, it should be less choppy and less volatile.
Okay, so to end our conversation, I would just ask you to tell all our viewers what the 2 or 3 things you would say are essential for financial planning. Okay, financial planning that leads to financial freedom, because that's eventually what everybody wants.
Right. So I will just, this question as to what are the things that you need to do to put your finances back in order. First thing is you need to have your financial plan in place. That's the basic, right? You know,
and in order to have your financial plans in place, you need to set very clearly what your financial goals are.
Exactly. First, it's very important that you need to think in detail about your goals. You need to have your goals written. You need to have an absolute clarity as to where are you going. The destination has to be clear in your mind. Okay. You can't really spend everything today and you're like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to look at whatever is going to happen, I'm just going to look into it. That's not how it works. You've got to live a bit below your means in order to be financially free in future. And third and the most important thing is you've got to start. Procrastination is the worst thing that you can do to your wealth. And we don't have a slide share option, else I would have shared with you how much a procrastination, what kind of harm it can do to your wealth.
Well, maybe we can save that for the next time we have a conversation, and we'll see what everybody has to say once I put up this video. Thank you so much for your insights, Khyati. I want to ask you a completely different subject. What is the first thing you're going to do once the lockdown is over?
So I think there have been quite a lot of things that I have been missing. First thing is I'm going to just go and party hard. Have been missing for 2.5 months now. So I'm just waiting for it to be over and once things are safe, I would just want to go and party hard, party all night.
Amazing, amazing. So here's to partying all night. Thank you everybody for joining in, and thank you again, Khyati, for your wonderful insights. Take
Thank
care.
you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.